Hi, this is Tucker, and this is vocab list number 5. Remember, you should be taking Cornell Notes with the words and the definitions, the parts of speech, and I really encourage you to write down any examples or any alternative definitions that I might provide, any root word connections that might help you remember what these words mean. So the first word is abject, and someone who is described as abject is really low, usually like emotionally low. So it means to sink or to someone who is sunk low in condition. And like I said, if you're abject, usually you're like depressed about something or you're discouraged about a situation. You're not in a great place. 2 is anarchy. And anarchy is a noun, and it is the absence or utter disregard for government. So in a government level, when there's anarchy, it means everybody is doing whatever they want. They're not following rules. They're not following the expected behaviors of society. They're going against the government. On a more informal level, anarchy is the absence of order. So sometimes when a teacher is gone for the day and there is a substitute present, students tend to do whatever they want. And classrooms can tend to be like anarchy. Kids kind of getting up and doing whatever they want, talking across the room, texting and passing notes. So it's the absence of order or the utter disregard for established order in government. 3 is callow, and someone who is described as callow is inexperienced, so without experience of the world. So if you're someone who has grown up in a small town like Windsor and you've never left Windsor, you kind of lived your whole life in this little place knowing the same people, then you might be described as callow. And this word can have negative connotations, but for the most part, like young people can be very callow because they just haven't had a lot of experience in the world. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, but it does describe someone who tends to be kind of inexperienced. Destitute describes someone who is extremely poor, poverty-stricken. Someone who is homeless is destitute, right? Totally without a penny to their name, poverty, very, very poor. 5 is expedite. I love this word. It's a verb. And to expedite means to move it along. Let's make it happen more quickly. To hasten, that means to quicken the movement or progress of something. So when I'm in class and I want to move from one activity to the next, a lot of times students take their time about it, they're shuffling paper on their desk, they're having a little side conversation, and I want them to expedite the process. Hurry it up, move along. So I would say that to expedite is to hurry, to hasten the movement or progress of something. Like, let's make more progress more quickly. Number 6 is inconsequential. Again, we have a root word, in, which means the opposite of consequential. So something of consequence means something that's important, something worth considering. Something that is inconsequential means it's not worth considering. It has no value. So a synonym would be valueless or without value. We have another word, or another root, ir, which, similar to in, also can begin a word and mean the opposite. So meaning the opposite of relevant. Irrelevant, remember there's 2 R's here at the beginning. Irrelevant means not relevant, not applicable, having no relevance or impact or importance to a situation. So inapplicable means it doesn't have any application, any relevance. Morose. When I think of the word morose, which is a describing word, it describes someone who's gloomy. I think of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, right? Eeyore's always kind of gloomy, right? Never looks on the bright side. Glass is always half empty. So someone who's morose is gloomy. They tend to be kind of negative, glass half empty kind of people. The opposite of this would be someone who's very, optimistic. Number 9 is perceive. And look at the spelling of this. I comes after the E. It's one of the times when the rule actually holds up, I before E except after C. And this is a verb. And to perceive is to basically to take in information. So you perceive things all the time in your environment. You hear things, you see things, you even stuff you don't realize you're perceiving, you're actually taking in, and with your subconscious, right, with the part of your mind that you don't even realize is working, you are taking in lots of information. And you perceive things with your 5 senses. So to perceive is to have knowledge of, or to receive impressions about something through the medium of your bodily senses. So hear, to touch, to taste, to smell, to hear, all of that. That's how you perceive the world around you. That's how you make sense of it. You take in information. Number 10 is recuperate. And think about the re and recuperate, re and recover. The root word re means again. And so if you're recuperating, you are recovering. You are returning to health, becoming healthy again. Satire is a great word, especially for language arts. A satire is, or satire itself, is the employment of, or the use of sarcasm, irony, or they say keenness of wit. Keenness being like having a sharp mental wit in ridiculing other people's vices. And your vices are like the things you do that you probably shouldn't do. So, I probably drink too much coffee. That would be one of my vices. So it's something that you do that you probably shouldn't do. Well, in a satire, it's basically using humor, very kind of witty, sharp humor, to make fun of a person's vices, the things that they do that they really shouldn't do. Number 12 is subsequent. And again, we have the root word sub, S-U-B, meaning below or after. And so here we have subsequent meaning following in time, coming after. So after one thing, something else follows in time. So the word subsequently is an adverb ending with ly, and it describes something that happens after something else. 13 is transgress, and to transgress means to, in a very formal way, it means to break the law. A transgression is the noun form of this word, and it's basically when you do something that you're not supposed to do. So it could be something as severe as breaking the law, or it could just be, doing something at school you're not supposed to do, like texting in the classroom would be considered, to a friend would be a transgression, or, breaking the dress code. So there are like minor transgressions, and then there's much more serious transgressions. But whenever you basically break a rule or break a law, that is to transgress, and it is a transgression. 14 is vindicate, and to vindicate is a verb, and it means to prove right, to prove real, to prove true. And a lot of times when someone vindicates themselves or someone else, it's in the face of a lot of doubt. So if someone said that you basically, there was a transgression, that you did something you weren't supposed to do, and the principal brought you into the principal's office, and they sat down and they talked to you, and they called your parents, and you knew that you were right, that you hadn't actually done this, you hadn't done anything wrong, you hadn't broken a law, you hadn't broken a rule, and then you're able to prove it, you can vindicate yourself. You can prove that you didn't actually perform this transgression, you didn't actually break a rule. And so there's a lot of validation that happens when someone is vindicated. It's like, usually it's after some time of people believing that you did one thing, and then they realize, oh, in fact, you didn't do it, and you've been vindicated. 15 is wield, and it's a verb, and it means to control, to use, to manage. some kind of weapon, instrument, or power to its full, they say, especially with full command. So I often think of like someone who, you know, who has a sword and they're wielding their sword in battle, fighting, okay? So to control, to manage a weapon and or some kind of instrument to the full capacity, to your full ability. So really, a really famous warrior would be able to wield his or her weapon, you know, to the best of their ability, or to the best of most people's ability, right? Okay, that's the end.